I have an idea. And it's not an original one by any means, but an idea nonetheless. And this idea really revolves around this notion of like the pursuit of becoming really great at something, or at the very least, pretty good at it. The process of it all, the ins and outs, how can greatness be achieved through really consistent effort and focus, amongst other things, has really been a topic I've thought pretty extensively about for a good amount of time. Now, there are many things, right, that prevent the average person, which I would consider myself an average person, from pursuing and achieving, said greatness. Regardless of context, everything around them, but I'll go more into that later. You see, over the course of probably, I'd say the past 3 years, I've really just become obsessed with the game of golf. And it's probably no surprise. You can see the background here. Very common in my age group, my demographic. And it's really just taken a hold of my mind as of late. But hear me out. What went from something that I used to kind of scoff at, right? Something I used to kind of judge, has now become a huge fixation in my life. And all of it from my best friend's bachelor party. I hit a really great drive while I was randomly sitting in the cart one day, and then something just clicked, and I became obsessed with this game. However, a lot of people found this game recently, in probably the past maybe 5 to 7 years or so, mostly in that post-COVID era. The game has gained a lot of new players, and I am one of those new players. And like many of those players, I never swung a club seriously until I was about 25 years old. I did not play in my childhood, did not play as a teenager or in high school or anything like that. I didn't even really play in college. It was really up until I just was close to graduating college, just after I graduated college, that I really started to find a love for this game. And I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that there was a great amount of frustration when I played, right? I feel like I should be better, but I'm not better. A story as old as time itself. And a lot of people have the same struggle, right? They try to keep up, they can't keep up. They compare to people who've been playing for 15 years, and they feel kind of distraught about that. Now, I do play a lot of golf currently. I'm very lucky in that regard, and we'll get more onto that later. But whenever I do have this conversation, whether it's with people I get paired up with randomly, friends of mine who also play the game, and just people who are close to me, a very clear theme really starts to kind of pop up. And you might have heard this phrase or had this conversation with someone you care about, or just someone that you met, a stranger maybe. And it always goes like this: if only I had started younger, or if only I had more time to golf, I'd be way better. And that's where this idea was born. What if I could treat golf like a part-time or even full-time job? With a strict regimen in terms of practice and play, with a good amount of resources. How good could I, or the average person, really get at this game without much prior childhood or teenage experience and a lot of training? How good could you get in 1 season, 2 seasons, or even 10 seasons? Well, this goes down to the root of the question as well, is can anyone really become great, or at the very least, good at something with enough time on their hands? Now, to most people, this is not really accessible. As I kind of alluded to before, there are a lot of things that prevent people from being able to pursue a passion or a hobby. I think you can probably think of some right now yourself, and I'll throw a few out there. Jobs. People work jobs, right? The average American is going to be working at minimum 8 hours per day. There's some of you probably watching this video who just pulled a 10er or a 12, right? You might work 3 12s, 4 10s, an average 8-hour workday. Whatever it may be, you have to dedicate that time to your job. I'm pretty sure if you asked the boss if you could go out and golf every day, you'd probably be without a job, or you'd be told no quite often. The average person just doesn't have 4 to 8 hours to dedicate, right? They don't have that 4 to 8 hours worth of time and resources and energy. I don't have kids. I have a lot of friends who do, and I can guarantee you that probably after they have been working with their kids all day, or raising their kids all day, working at their job all day, everything in between, they probably don't have the energy to go dump 6 hours into practice or extra play time. It just doesn't work that way. And you could say it with golf, you could say that with woodworking, whatever hobby you really want to consider. People only have so much energy throughout the day, and they probably care about other things rather than just that one thing. There's a laundry list, but you can probably think of the fact that 99% of people just don't have that excess amount of time. But for me, I find that I really don't have much of an excuse. And let me explain. I find myself in almost a perfect storm of conditions that will allow me to really pursue this idea and, really take it the whole 9 yards here. And here are the big ones I could really think of. The reasonings why I can do this. I have a job that allows me to have my summers off, which is pretty sweet. It's a pretty cool gig. And I do have great working hours during the spring and fall time, which is really, really great golf weather where I'm from right now, which is in the Minnesota area. I also belong to a membership program that gets me very cheap or even free green fee amounts at a set price per year, which is dramatically lower than the vast majority of clubs or even public courses within this area. So my amount of money spent on golf is much, much lower. I make a pretty average salary. I make less than 60 grand per year. So I'm not going out and shooting at courses every single day that are, $100, $120 in terms of green fees, don't take caddies, anything like that. So it makes it much more accessible for me. I also have my better half who is extremely supportive of this. She sees how much I enjoy the game, how beneficial it is to me. So she's encouraging of me pursuing this idea. Or she's just heard about it so many times that she's finally like, yeah, get out of the house and actually go and do it. That way I don't have to hear about it a million times. Either or. Another good thing is that many of my friends are golfers. Many of them have been golfing for a long time. Some of them have just picked it up. But what this means is when I go back to my hometown, when I'm out and about doing things, bachelor parties, gatherings, really whatever you can think of, mostly there's usually golf involved. I just recently had friends here from Memorial Day weekend, and one of them mentioned that he can't remember the last time he went on a trip with all of our friends where there wasn't golf involved. So that's a perk in terms of this kind of experiment. And then lastly, where I live is a hot spot for golf. I would argue that my area is probably one of the best regions in the United States for golf, except for one big negative, and that's winter. That's really that winter season eats up a lot of the time. I'm not in Florida or anything like that, but we really do have some amazing golf over here in the area that I live. Now, there are other factors that allow me to do this that are kind of unique to my overall position. But those were just really the big ones. And as time goes on, as I continue to put out more content, you'll see kind of a lot of those perks that kind of come up that really allow me to pursue this overall dream. Now, with all this in mind, let me set the framework for all of this, because this is kind of a massive experiment. So what I want to do is really dedicate a ton of time with fixed variables, and I feel like a plan has to be in place because, like with any experiment, for those of you who graduated from the 6th grade, I didn't, but here I am, you need to have things that can be repeatable, and you have to have some fixed variables that maybe don't change all that often. And I want to be able to track data points and truly see how good I'm getting, or if I'm regressing, which would be very sad considering the amount of time I'm going to put into this. But before we get into the details, I have a few things that I feel like any viewer watching this really should know about my overall standing as a golfer. And the first thing is where I'm starting at in terms of my skill level, right? I'm a 20 handicap. I'm not going out shooting 78s or 80s and really killing it on the course every single day. I'm a 20 handicap, and there are some rough days. And I'll post some up right here on the screen real quick. Yeah, not ideal, right? Now, I had some good rounds in there, had some bad rounds. I feel like I consistently will shoot about mid to high 90s, and I'm hoping to bring that down, of course, and break 90 this season, which would be pretty nice. Also, I'm not an athlete. You know, you might see a lot of people who maybe make content like this, or just people you've met in general, who they pick up a club and within a few rounds, maybe they are somewhat serviceable. And you're like, how does that even work? Not taking away from these people's hard work, but a lot of people are naturally inclined to sports. I'm not one of those people. Anyone who wanders upon this video, who knows me in my personal life, knows for an absolute fact I am not an athlete. Now, I did play sports in high school. I did track and field. That didn't last long. I attempted basketball, and anyone who's ever seen me shoot a basketball knows how that went. The only sport that was really my calling was football, and that's because I was a larger than average individual and could occasionally push someone in a straight line or at least away from someone important on the team. That's it. That is where the athleticism ends. So don't go into this thinking that I have a lot of prior experience or kind of advantages outside of what I described earlier. Now let's talk about what I'm calling the blueprint. Now, I plan to conduct an A and B schedule, averaging around 6 hours of golf per day throughout the peak season. And my peak season for me is June 5th to August 28th. So on the day of this recording, it is June 8th. I have already golfed a decent amount from the start of my summer. And surprisingly enough, there is a specific day I'm taking today, and we'll talk about why that is soon. But there needs to be repeating tasks on both of these schedules, mainly to help prevent some things that I will talk about pretty soon here. However, there are some major differences as well. Before I get into A and B schedule, here are some assumptions I want you to take into this video and future videos that maybe will help you gauge kind of the workload here. I'm walking every round. I was very, very lucky to have a good friend of mine who, when I was first getting into golf, really almost bullied me into walking almost every single round. And I thank him for it consistently. Don't get me wrong, if you need a cart and it's accessible for you, go and do that. Because there are some days I really wish I had a cart almost every single time. However, now getting used to walking, I do use a Caddy Tech push cart. I love it. And in terms of performance, they have shown that using a push cart is usually indicative of the best overall scores that you can get, on average, of course. Also, cart fees are out of this world. Like, I don't know what these people are smoking at some of these courses, but one of my home courses, it's like 32 bucks for a cart, and I don't understand who's doing this. All right, these are crazy people. Reduce the cart fees. A schedule. So schedule A is pretty straightforward. 18 holes of golf that day. You got to play more to get better, of course. And I am going to incorporate a 1 hour warm-up prior to the round. Warm-ups are key, right? I don't want to have to get warmed up on the first 3 holes every single time because that's going to affect score. Once again, I have time. That's the whole point of this, is I do have the time. 20 minutes of sauna. This I'm going to talk more about later. There's some great health benefits for sauna. There's so much that goes into it. Lots of YouTube has already proven that. However, 20 minutes of sauna. I'm going to do about a 30+ minute resistance workout on these A scheduled days as well. Most of my resistance work is going to be kind of comprised of calisthenics, weight training, of course, and of course, a decent amount of stretching. But I figure this will help pretty good for load management. I'm not going to be putting 2 hours per day into the gym. Maybe some people do. Good for them. I'm not those people. And then 20 minutes of mobility work. Once again, I'll go into detail about why I chose most of this pretty soon here. And then Schedule B. Schedule B, 9 holes with a 15-minute warm-up prior to the round. Moving into that, and this might be before or after, I'm kind of still deciding how I want to do this, is what I'm calling a trifecta practice. 3 hours. 1 hour of putting, 1 hour of short game and approach, and 1 small bucket of range balls that I hope to extend throughout the course of maybe 30+ or so minutes. And you might be wondering, well, why only 1 small bucket? I'm gonna be swinging a lot this summer. And once again, load management's gonna be key. We'll touch on that later. 20 minutes of sauna, 30 minutes of cardio work, mostly probably just, running, and then 20 more minutes of mobility work. Well, of course, things are gonna come up. Weather and rest days. I'm actually taking a rest day today because I golfed around in 92-degree heat yesterday with extreme high humidity, and it killed me. I was gassed by probably the 14th hole, and I was exhausted. And I'm gonna throw that scorecard up here. And as you can see, did not go well for me. It was a very poor day. I felt like crap for probably 3 hours after the fact. But weather days are gonna happen. It's the summer, rain, so on and so forth. You never know what's gonna happen. I need to take rest days or weather days for this. Most rest and weather days, whether it's for load management or I just cannot get out, are going to be mobility focused, and of course, some good stretching, mobility, like I said. And if we have multiple days in a row, I will intermix cardio or resistance work in there. Most likely, if I do see 3 days in a row where I physically cannot get on the course, probably gonna have to go to a simulator, which not ideal, but what can you do? So why so many additional activities, right? Why not just go out and golf 18 or 36 holes per day? Why not just do that? You have the time, right? Well, I did discuss this idea with some pretty close friends, and a few very valid concerns came up. First off, fatigue, overworking, and burnout, or losing the love of the game. Those are really the big ideas that came up out of these conversations. Too much of a good thing can turn bad, as most people know. So pursuing a healthier body while pursuing this goal it's gonna be paramount. You can't neglect one without the other. And my friend made a comment the other night, like training almost like a college golfer or professional golfer. This is what these people do full time, is they work out, they take care of their bodies. They're not just at the range all day long, although they do spend a good amount of time there. This is a multifaceted kind of schedule or experiment. Going back to the sauna thing, 20 minutes of sauna per day. I am shooting for at least 5 times per week. I would like to keep that the average, but almost every day is gonna be kind of my goal overall. Mainly, I just love it. Sauna is great for you. If you go on YouTube, anywhere on YouTube, you can find all the data points, anywhere between a 40 to 50 drop in all-cause mortality, which if you're someone who likes to be healthy and live, 40 to 50% drop in all-cause mortality, you'd be a fool not to take that, right? And 20 minutes a day, it's not that bad. My gym is like a 5-minute drive. I am very well placed to be able to do this within reason all the time. Very few things have the benefit that sauna does. And without it, without the amount of, with the amount of swings I'm gonna be just ripping through this summer, I need that kind of restorative practice, that relaxation aspect to it, and overall the recovery benefits of the sauna. Let's talk mobility. Pretty self-explanatory. Mobility is a golfer's best friend, right? Scotty gets arrested. They're talking about how he's stretching in jail. You gotta stretch, you have to be mobile. Hip mobility, overall, mobility through your shoulders, your leg, everything in between. All right, I don't need to sit here and explain it, mostly because I'm not an expert. There are plenty of people on YouTube who are amazing with that type of content. You should find them and check them out. But this is another way of improving performance, longevity, and reducing risk of injury. I can't get data points, I can't practice if I'm hurt. Mobility it is, right? Lots of good mobility. Maybe if I run out of content and things dry up, I can give you my mobility routine. I am doing the foundation mobility routine mainly because my lower back is made out of paper mache. So keeping that healthy is gonna be really important. And just a mixture of other things that I've found that I've really enjoyed over the years. Load management is going to be critical here. I can't stress that enough. Load management is the name of the game. Cardio and resistance training. Once again, got to keep things robust. I can't just be walking on the course. Now, that will help me quite a bit. I would be remiss if I didn't say that I could probably stand to lose a few pounds, which I most likely will throughout this experience. Keeping a good cardio routine, some nice runs is going to be really important for me. And like I said before, resistance work, mainly through a core 4, which is going to be bench, squat, RDLs, and overhead press, then some calisthenics, core work, and then zone 2 to 3 cardio through some of those runs. I'm not gonna get too scientific about it, but at the end of the day, consistency is king in any workout, right? I could really get into the weeds with this, but doing it every day is really what matters. And, not eating garbage 24/7. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, there are a lot of things, but staying consistent on a fixed schedule to record important data points is what this is all gonna be about. Again, The whole point of this is to see if someone of average stock, me, can achieve a great thing with pretty much unlimited amounts of time. I have 3 months of not a whole lot, right? Our weekends might be busy, but I can work around busy weekends as well. The schedule I plan to adhere to and the data that I plan to track is simply to show potential progress, to see, is this working? And thankfully, I have a spreadsheet guy who can help me with that. Now, this might be more of entertainment for you, which I hope it is, something you can study, or hopefully, if you find yourself in a similar situation, or if you have the motivation with an average 9-to-5 job, maybe you can replicate this as well. But there is more to this than just data and routine. As great as all this can be on a spreadsheet or a graphic, there is another side to this game that needs improvement. And this is for a lot of golfers, myself included, but just a lot of people in general. That's the mentals. I mainly have 2 focuses with this experiment when it comes to the mentals side of the game. You could call these goals, tenets, mantras, whatever they might be. But through all of this, these are 2 things that I plan to keep consistent pretty much throughout the remainder of my golf career. And it's gonna take some time. I'm not as good at it as I should be. But here are the 2 things. Absolutely no negative self-talk. Self-critique, of course, you need that. But negative self-talk, big no-no. Big no-no. Because poor self-talk is absolutely terrible for your game. The amount of negative self-talk I find myself getting to, especially when I play with certain people, is terrible. It's something I gotta work on. But it takes one simple YouTube search to go out and see that, hey, there is so many people who are great at this game who are like, yeah, you can't talk bad to yourself. It's just gonna kill your game. So no negative self-talk. The next is being a good playing partner. Almost anyone who golfs or has golfed more than 20 times has been paired with someone who is absolutely atrocious to golf with, or if you find yourself in this situation, you have a consistent playing partner in either a 2, 3, or foursome who is kind of a drag on the entire, the ball team, so to say. And it really ruins the experience. It truly does. So I don't plan to be that person. Keeping vibes high during a round is super important, whether it's round 14 of the season or round 104 of the season. It's important not only to your own mentals, but to the people around you. You don't want to be remembered as someone who's just kind of terrible to golf with. So I'm going to be complimenting people's shots, shutting up when they have bad ones, all right? Read the room a little bit. Not giving unsolicited swing advice to people, which I wish that was a sign on every single tee box. And there's so much more that goes in being a great playing partner, but just being out there and being a good vibe for everybody is going to hopefully set me a little bit, higher up for success as compared to some others. So good mentals, no negative self-talk, and being a good playing partner are really my 2 core goals there. Now, before I wrap this up, I do want to clarify what this channel is intended to be and what it's intended not to be, because these are 2 very important distinctions. This channel is not a channel to teach you swing fundamentals, how to break 80, or your typical golf coach content. There are great people for that. I'm not one of them. Go check out Golf Sidekick, the boss himself. Adam over at Not a Scratch Golfer is really, really good. I like both of those channels. I watch their content pretty consistently and like both their vibes. There are so many golf creators on YouTube. You can find someone who works for you in that category. I'm not that category. I'm not a professional YouTuber, at least not yet. We'll see. I'm currently working with a $40 microphone, a $50 tripod that my iPhone, which I'm recording with, is currently standing on. And I've just got a few notes up here on my laptop that I've been reading off of. My golf bag is a Callaway bag that I bought on Facebook Marketplace for $50, and I'm currently using the Costco Edge starter set that I bought 3 years ago. The Kirkland Signature wedges, which I love those wedges, and a $10 original spider putter that I won off of a buddy who then sold it to me for 10 bucks on a random day that we were golfing. That's it. That is kind of my setup. Now, the big thing I'm really getting over is filming shots on the course in front of strangers. And don't worry, You're gonna get to see some of that footage from prior to this video. Shield your eyes for that. But it's something I have to get over. I'm not used to this. I'm not a professional by any stretch of the imagination. But if this all goes as planned, hopefully the bad shots will decrease dramatically and the good ones will increase. But you are going to see some bad shots in this video and the videos to come after this. I'm gonna film some sequences. I'm not gonna film every single round, every single day. I'm probably gonna do maybe some 3-hole sequences, some bad shots of the week, some good shots of the week, everything in between. But this is not gonna be a complete filming of every single match I go out to. I do plan to have updates, and I'm gonna post every score I do have, and in the scorecards as well, but it's not gonna be every single shot all the time. So that's what you're here for. I apologize. It's just not going to be that. What I want this channel to be is a mixture between kind of a scientific study of the power of persistence and a documentary of the journey itself that will, hopefully, show some great progress. And lastly, this is kind of an excuse for me to just get out and golf every day, which I didn't really need one before, but now it's a really good motivational factor. Before we kind of wrap up and I show you a lot of the clips I record throughout the week, I just want to say, I love this game. I truly do, and I hope you do too. And if you don't yet, maybe watching this series will inspire a love of the game for you because you can see that, hey, it is obtainable to get better. Or, it'll kill the love of the game entirely for you. One of the two, we'll find out. Speaking of creating or killing inspiration, here are some shots I've collected over the past week to give you an idea of where I'm starting at in terms of my skill level. All right. Little chunky, I think. Into the water. Fans are gonna love that. Put that on camera too. Halfway decent pace, I'll take it. So if you made it this far, I do really want to say thank you. I hope you stick around for the long haul here. I do plan to post one video at least per week, either on like a Monday or a Tuesday, because my weekends, we have a lot going on, but my weekdays are, as you can imagine, going to be dedicated towards this idea. It's going to take some time. I'm not going to lie about that. You might be seeing this first off, you might be a first-time viewer, or you might be seeing a recap video that maybe I'll post towards the end of October into November, showing the entire expanse of this entire idea. But regardless, I really hope you get something out of it. Subscribe, like, all that stuff, whatever the people say, whatever really floats your boat. And last but certainly not least, this idea and the name of this channel stems from my love of video games. And a common kind of, trash talk point when I was younger, still to this day, you'll see it in all chat all the time. I play League of Legends, it's my red flag. And it's always, get good, right? Get good, get better, be better. That's kind of the whole synopsis of all of this, is going out, becoming better, and showing that it is possible. So that being said, let's get good.